Welcome to Forex Daybreak, a daily podcast where we cover 8 Forex pairs and give you our view on the market direction for these pairs. If you are trading Forex market, this is the #1 show to start your trading day. Now, let's begin today's episode.
Good morning everybody and welcome to Forex Daybreak episode 18. In this daily Forex update, I will give you my view on 8 Forex pairs I analyze using Elliott wave principle. My name is Ville Vainio and today is 1st of September 2015. This podcast is recorded also as video and it is available from the members area at ForexDayBreak.com. Show notes for this episode can be found at ForexDayBreak.com/18. Now let's get started and let's get right onto the markets with the first pair, which is EURUSD. And EURUSD is slightly on a sideways range at the moment. The price now is 112.5 and yesterday we dipped below the important level, which is at 112.13. The important peak is this previous peak, and since we have already declined below that important level, this is a strong signal that this is indeed the start of next larger wave down. We are now slightly higher and going higher, and I believe this is possibly a minute wave 4 correction of this first wave down, and we should see a sideways correction forming here, possibly even the latest peak at around these levels. 113 possibly is the first A wave. This would mean that we should see a push towards these levels, maybe 113.25 around. Or then another option is that the third wave is, the low is around here, which is 111.54, and we should see now a sideways range around that 111.5, 112.5 levels, between those levels. So I'm expecting a sideways correction in EURUSD next. Key levels on this pair are that the resistance zone area is at 112.75 and lower end of that acting as support is 112, around that level, which has now held for multiple tests. So let's see how this goes. I wouldn't enter any trades at this point, since we can see up and down moves if this is a sideways correction forming at wave 4 position. Okay, next we have dollar yen. Dollar yen has stalled slightly the upwards momentum. We are now at 120.89. A slightly bearish bias is right now at dollar yen. And if we do not decline below this peak, which is at 120.4, which is also the previous wave W's low right here, this decline, if it doesn't move below that level 120.4, we can start tracing a 5-wave structure here. Perhaps this is still a third wave to the upside, but can be counted as one 5-wave structure if we do not decline below those levels mentioned before. I wouldn't trade this pair right now, since this is still slightly unsure if we are indeed going higher and have started a wave, minor wave 5 to the upside. This is quite weak, this recent upwards move, and compared to the very strong decline we had last week, looks pretty anemic. But this is still from the lows to the highs, this is still 560 pips, so quite a long advance in those terms, but compared to the very strong decline, looks like a weak upwards move. I would like to see a 5-wave structure first, then a clear 3-wave pullback as a correction. This would give stronger signal that dollar yen has started the last wave higher and this wave count is correct, and the latest low was a minor wave 4. Key levels on dollar yen are that next resistance is 121.73, the price now is 120.8 and going lower, and the support is that 120.4 level which I mentioned before. So those are the levels to watch for in dollar yen. Next we have pound dollar, and slightly more to the downside. Pound dollar yesterday declined to 153.37, which has been tested 2 times before, so it's quite strong support level. I have labeled this latest low as wave 1, and now possibly we are forming a wave 2 correction to the upside. And let's see how this develops. Usually wave 2 position is sharp correction, but as of now this is looking more or less like a sideways correction that is forming. So perhaps this will be quite narrow range that this correction will be, but we will have to see how this develops. Key levels on pound dollar are that 154.36 is the next upside resistance level, and 153.3 is acting as a support. This is the strong level that has been tested many times. Previous wave 1 stalled at this level and then embarked on this very long sideways range that we have witnessed for the past couple of months before this strong decline. So these lows right here are the strong support level at 53.3 is the strong support level. So when we break through that level, then I'm looking for more downside, but still we are on a correction and I wouldn't trade this pair at this point. I would look for this correction to complete. If this is a sideways correction, the sideways motion can continue for a while, but we can look for the final 5-wave structure to the upside to complete the correction as a C wave, and then look for an impulsive wave down, and this would give a signal that the downwards trend has resumed, and there can be then good entry points for short trade. Next is Euro Pound, and slightly higher numbers on Euro Pound. Price is now 0.7314, and I have labeled the latest low as minute wave 4, so I'm expecting one more wave higher, like I talked before, to complete this large, very large multi-month corrective sideways wave. So we are now at 0.7414, and key levels on Euro Pound are at 0.7245 is the support area. This is yesterday's low. I have labeled as minute wave 4, and also on the upside is 0.7379. This has been strong resistance level, so when we break through that level to the upside, we should get the last wave and reach higher beyond the latest peak, which is at 742 approximately. So that level should break, and a nice 5-wave structure to the upside, and then we can call this large trend as over, and we'll be looking for a larger wave down, one more larger wave down to complete this whole very large downwards structure that is visible on the higher time frame charts. I wouldn't trade necessarily this. Perhaps there is an upside trade in here, maybe 100 pips, a little over 100 pips can be gained here. So if you're going to trade this, look for good entry point on lower time frame charts. Try to count 5-wave structures to the upside, and then 3-wave correction downside, and then find an entry point. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend trading this higher, since there's a limited upside on this right now. Next is Euro Yen, and more or less the same place than yesterday. We are at 135.95, so a little bit under 136. The price has been hovering around 136 for many days now, last week and the start of this week as well. So nothing has happened. Key levels are exactly the same than yesterday. 136.42 is the immediate resistance on the upside. 135, the psychological level on the downside, will be our support, and this whole sideways range is more or less an resistance and support level. So the upper end of the range is 136.6 and the lower is around 135.4. So when we break from this range, I'm expecting more downside, but when we break neither up or down, then we need to find the clues of impulsive structure or corrective structure. If this breaks to the upside and there's a 5-way structure, then this obviously is still not the start of the larger C wave down, and we can look for more upside. But I'm expecting more downside, but I would not trade this at this point, since there is hardly any clear entry points found in this wave structure. Next is Pound Yen. Pound Yen has declined slightly yesterday. Price is now at 185.84. 185.84, and perhaps the wave 2 correction has ended and we are resuming the downwards downwards push in this, but still quite a weak decline from the latest high, minor wave 2 high, which is at 189.97, and also the first strong decline is in 3 waves, so this would give strong signal that we are still on correction and might be seeing higher numbers in this pair before the decline can resume. Key levels on pound yen: upside resistance around 187.64, on the downside 185. This is the minor wave 1 low. This will be our support level on the downside. If we break below that level, then there's a good chance that the decline has resumed, and then we can start to look for entry points for trading this to the downside. Next is Euro Canadian dollar. We have moved lower in this pair. Price now 148, quite flat 148 right now. Moving slightly higher at this point. Key levels on Euro Canadian are 194.75. Upside resistance has formed there. Couple of tests on that level. Support 146.15 is the recent resistance when we were on an uptrend, forming the last part of the large correction. So 146.15 will be the next support level on the downside. I'm expecting more downside in Euro Canadian, and perhaps we are now on a small degree wave 4, forming the sideways correction here, since there is quite overlapping waves since yesterday's open made slightly higher, then slightly lower. Now we are making higher moves, so more or less sideways price action. And let's see when this forms the first 5-way structure to the downside, a clear impulsive structure, then we can start thinking about entering a position in this pair, since there is quite a long bear market to be expected in Euro Canadian, so there's a good opportunity to get in this downtrend early. But let's be patient at this point and look for first 5-way structure to the downside, then a 3-way pullback, and then we can start thinking about good entry point for a short trade. Okay, finally US dollar Canadian, and a decline yesterday, quite a strong one. Price now 131.4, and we are nearing our next support level, which is at 131 psychological level, and also on a previous uptrend wave 3 peak, and that is our next support level. I'm expecting this to decline towards 128.6, which is previous 4th wave peak, and this whole correction should complete around that level. Resistance on the upside is the latest 3rd wave peak, which is at 132.12. So if we get a test to the upside, this should contain it, and the decline on the downside should continue. It should be a 5-way structure from the latest high and towards 128.6 levels, and after that the next wave higher, the last wave should start, and there we can look for a good opportunity to trade this to the upside. There can be still a downside trade. Yesterday I talked about this, that there is a decent amount of room to trade to the downside if this wave count plays out as expected, and there is still probably, well, there's 280 pips to the target, so there is a decent trade to the downside. I would not necessarily trade this myself, but if you have the stomach for it, go ahead and make a trade to the downside. Okay, that's all for today's episode. Visit the show notes at forexdaybreak.com/18 and leave your comments on that page. Thanks for listening to my show. Now go make some profits, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thanks for your interest in Forex Daybreak Daily Podcast. If you like this show, we hope you'll visit our website, www.forexdaybreak.com, and tell your friends about us. Be sure to check the show notes on our website for this episode. Join us next time for another episode of Forex Daybreak.